Hey everyone, my name is Jack Wang. Welcome to this week's College Planning Tip of the Week. As always, with me is Nancy Steenson with Steenson College Coaching. Nancy, we're heading into the summer. It's almost time for the Common App. What general tips can you share with students who are about to get this started?
It is that time, Jack. The Common App actually refreshes at the very end of July and is refreshed August 1st. So students can certainly get started anytime, but they have to know that the system will be down for a couple of days and much of what they input could be lost. So they want to be very, very careful just putting in biographical data to begin with before August 1st. There are some things that you want to be aware of, some things that once you do are harder to undo. First of all, when you log into the account to a Common App to establish an account, you have to have an email address. And that email address is going to stick with you all through the whole college application process. So you don't want your school email address, because if you end up on the wait list of your dream school and they email you mid-July, you may or may not have access to your email address because you've already graduated from that high school. So make sure that you don't use a school email address. You also want to make sure that the email address is appropriate. And I'm not suggesting that young people are using wildly inappropriate email addresses. But, my name is Nancy. I could have, fancy pants Nancy at Gmail. Not a great idea. Not a great idea. Keep it serious. So if you need to establish a separate email address, you can do that as well. Some people recommend that students pick a new email address for all of their college work. That has pros and cons as well, because then it's more accounts to manage. Bottom line is make sure it's appropriate. The next thing they need to really know is that there's something called a FERPA waiver, and it deals with privacy, and they are given an opportunity to waive their right to read recommendations. This is often very unclear to parents and students. They must waive their right to read recommendations. If you click, no, I don't waive my right, it's a nightmare to unclick that. It's just difficult. I've had students deal with it. So you need to know, yes, I waive my right to read my recommendation. Now, I will tell you that that doesn't mean you're never allowed to read the recommendation. If a teacher, and it's rare, if a teacher or recommender chooses to share with you for any reason the recommendation they wrote, you are not violating any ethics code in reading it. I'm simply stating that when you sign the FERPA waiver, you waive your right to ask to read the recommendation via Common App. And as we all know, it's never okay to ask to read a recommendation. If someone should share it with you, that's fine. So absolutely sign off on the FERPA waiver. The other important thing to know is there is a section about testing. And now in this test optional landscape that we're living in, you can say, yes, I'm submitting testing, or no, I'm not submitting testing. Very important to know that when you end up submitting the Common App, you submit it one by one to each college that you're applying to. So you can answer that question or any question differently for each college. You don't hit send to all colleges at once. So if you want to submit a score to college A, but not college B, you can change the answer between submissions. So that's very important to know. And it's also important to know that once you do submit, if you tell them that you are going to be submitting a test score, your file is not complete until you submit that score. And there are colleges that will demand that score before looking at your application. Conversely, if you say that I'm not submitting a score, and then you get a fabulous SAT score late in the fall, there are many colleges who will not accept that. You already said that you're not submitting, so you can't submit. So it's a really important part of the application to think about carefully before you check that box. And the last thing I'll say is that proofread everything and get a second set of eyeballs on it. If you're not working with a consultant, have a parent help you, but proofread everything.
Those are great tips, Nancy, and especially about that FERPA tip. I know it's hard to uncheck, and it's really, real important for students and parents alike. Thanks so much for that great information. And thank you everyone for watching this week's College Planning Tip of the Week. Stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.